We are back and once again connecting with Stephanie Staples and Your Life Unlimited. Stephanie, you were a nurse and then you changed your life when you found your calling as a motivational speaker. And I just love the story because it's your mission to help people so they can help people and themselves and even more. And it's so great to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I know you help people. You know what's funny? We all kind of nurse in different ways, right? Most people help people in some way or another. So we all just
I
find our
love
different
how you put
specialties.
that.
Yeah.
And it kind of plays into what we're going to talk about today when it
What a
comes to being
coincidence.
nice, right? And I did some research on this, and kindness is so key to our mental health. Like, it's deeply connected. And the Mental Health Foundation of the UK, actually, research they've done shows that kindness is an antidote to isolation and creates that sense of belonging. And it helps reduce stress and brings a fresh perspective and deepens friendships. Just being kind. But it's hard these days because of social media and so many other factors, not even seeing each other enough. That, do you think we're losing a little bit of that kindness?
I'm the eternal optimist. So, I see kindness everywhere. I see it everywhere. And the more, there's a little quote that says that which you focus on expands. That which you focus on expands. And when I'm looking for that, I see it and it gets bigger and I see more and then I notice more. And, it doesn't have to be great big things like, oh, he bought her a car. It's not that. It's just the tiny little things. Somebody holds a door open for somebody else. Somebody's says a compliment somebody else in the airplane line, or something a little helps with the bag.
There's
It's
so many
there.
ways, and you talk, in your one of your latest blogs about, if you see nice, then say nice, and I really think that is such a strong statement. So can you kind of walk us through what you mean by that?
So I could, like, just this last weekend, I can just think of so many examples. So I saw this woman, and she was, I was speaking at a conference, and so there's hundreds of people in this, but this woman has this blazer on. It's black and white striped, and it just looks striking on her. And she's quite a lovely woman. And my first thought is, I should tell her she looks nice in this blazer. But she's a beautiful woman. She probably gets lots of compliments or whatever. But I did. I leaned in, like, across. I just want to tell you that blazer looks great on you, which is different, I think, than that's a beautiful blazer, right? That's a beautiful blazer. It's
Mm-hmm.
different than that blazer looks beautiful on you. And you could just see her whole demeanor just kind of melted. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Like, that means so much. You'd think she'd never had a compliment in her life. Like, I was so surprised by how she received this. Then I'm in line to the ferry terminal, and she's an older woman. She's got just super stylish haircut, and she's an Asian woman. Her hair is white, like, just, it's all white and beautiful. And then I think to myself, oh, that woman looks amazing with that haircut. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, why are you not telling her that? Like, she can't read your mind, and me thinking that doesn't help her at all. So I turned around and I just said, that haircut looks amazing on you. And she goes, oh, thank you so much. She goes, this is natural, she says. And then we launch into a 10-minute conversation about her hair. So, us thinking it is nice. Like, I think that's kind of the first step, is that you have that awareness that you notice something nice. But
And I
then
do
that,
want to, I'm just going to stop for a moment because you did bring up hair. And I
oh, yeah.
do want to talk about your hair for a moment. I think you look fantastic, but you gave complete kindness by cutting your hair off for a charitable event. So, there's so many different ways we can show kindness and do different things. And I think you rock it. You look fabulous, girl.
Thank you. It is quite a shock. It is quite a shock. So yeah, my hair was like halfway to my elbows, I guess, and now
Mm-hmm.
it's a number 2 on the razor, if you know what that is. So
There'll be
it's
lots of
pretty
people
cool.
who know that.
Yes, but we raised over $8,000 with one haircut in just a few minutes, and not and so yes, maybe it did take some courage on my part, but
Yeah.
all those people sitting and watching, they had to go. "No, I don't want to do that, but I support what you do, and I support this cause, and it was many times more the amount of money than I had planned on. So, but not everybody thought that was great. Not everybody thought it was great to do that. So you just never know.
Hmm.
So when you're doing good, like, so there's nowhere in my mind did I think someone might not think this is a good thing to do, but there was feedback that was not positive about it. So, but you set out to do good, you set out to do nice, and someone's going to judge you no matter what. Someone's going to So just, but do it anyway. Like my intent was good. Um, I did the best I could do, and I just got to stick with that. Not everybody's going to be happy, and not everybody might receive your compliment in that way, like
Mm.
these people did for me this weekend. Some people might think you're odd for saying that, or some people might not acknowledge it, or maybe they didn't hear you, or I don't know. But I feel like I get a point every time I do something nice or say something nice or act nice. I give myself a point. I don't give myself 20 points for doing something nicer. I just get a point. I gave the guy on the asking for money on the corner. I gave him my banana. Like I gave him a 20. I'm not going to get more points for that. I just here's my offering, and this is what I have to give today, and here you go.
And I think it's so important too that we always seem to feel that concern about being judged, or what will people think, and I think it does play sometimes into our kindness, because we're afraid it's not going to be taken the right way, or we also kind of can sometimes have the attitude, well, nobody does anything nice for me.
Or maybe they'll think I'll want something from them if I give them this compliment or whatever. But it's that whole Gandhi thing, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. But what I know is that I feel better after I do it. What, like, how they reply, how they respond is none of my business. If they respond wonderfully, that's bonus. If they don't, oh well. Like, I still did what I tried, and that's good enough for me.
So how do you keep it all in check? And some of the examples you've already given of how you can be kind, but how are some of the ways that you deliver that as well? Like you said you've complimented people, but do you remind yourself? Do you send out texts? Do you pick up the phone? Because I think that that's so important too, right? That we
Yeah.
connect with people and show that kindness by even just reaching out with a phone call instead of always it being a text.
Oh, phone calls are so nice. And I actually replied to my friend's birthday party by phone yesterday, and he answered the phone. He's like, whoa, like, what do I owe the honor of this call? Like, I was just starting to type it out, and then I'm like, I'm just going to call him because I haven't talked to him in a long time. And just that little tiny thing, it just moved it up a notch, right? But here's the thing, like, as with a lot of things, I have all these great intentions, and I think I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But then, life happens, and you get stuff on your list. And so what I did last year is I put a note on my calendar, and I don't know about you, but I live and die by my calendar. Like, it's all color coded, and it's like, it's how I function. So I put a note on my calendar, and it just says thank you at the end of every day. And so that is my trigger to reflect. So I just like pause for a moment. I just reflect on like who in my day like made a bit of a difference to me, who made my life a little bit easier, who was kind to me, who did I just appreciate being with, and of course this isn't strangers because I don't have their contact information. And it doesn't happen every day, but for the most part, at the end of every day I can think of somebody who was like, oh, it's just so great to hear their voice, and I will send them and usually it is a text at that point. But there have been, of course, phone calls and other even letters and stuff, but mostly it's a text because it's easy, right? We want to make things easy and simple and repeatable so that we can do them without like, oh, this big effort, I have to write a letter. Like,
Yeah.
and that's awesome. But it could also just be, hey, I was reflecting. I would quite literally often say, hey, I just reflecting on my day and who made a positive difference to me. And today that was you. And I really appreciate that talking with you just always brightens my spirits, or just something that takes a minute out of my life to do that. And because I like positive reinforcement, I well, so for two reasons, because I like positive reinforcement, and I'm just being honest about that, right? Some of us don't
Yes,
need that, but I like it,
a lot of
and
us
I
do.
apologize for that. Um, and also because I didn't want to keep doing it to the same person over and over again, I started keeping a list. And
Mm.
I went back when I wrote this recent blog post, and I counted on this, and there are hundreds like of people that I have. And I mean, sometimes, and you're on my list too. So you probably wouldn't have even noticed that one day I would have sent you a text that like, hey, da da da, you were this for me today. But
Mm.
you were on my list. And so some people I've done it twice for, whatever. But I'm trying not to do it 5 times for the same people. I'm trying to get a little more creative. But the point of the whole story is, I think if I hadn't written it on my calendar, I probably wouldn't be near as regular about doing it. And even if it only happens 2 times a week or 3 times a week, that's still 2 or 3 times a week more than I would have done if I hadn't sent this intention to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great way to keep track of it. And those are the really fabulous takeaways that I think people, can do is like reflect, like the piece, reflect at the end of the day, right? Who made that difference? Then reach out to that person and then keep that list so that you have that ongoing understanding of those that make a difference. And I really like to talk, and that we did touch upon that connection of picking up the phone sometimes, or grabbing a tea with somebody that maybe you haven't seen in a long time that maybe could use a pickup. Because I looked into this, and the Canadian Mental Health Association advocates for that social connection because it can lower anxiety, and it can reduce depression, and it regulates our emotions. It can give us better self-esteem and empathy and all those incredible things, including improving our immune system, which is so key to our health, just by connecting and reaching out to someone and showing that kindness.
Well, and I think this is a beautiful way to reinforce that, because and all that ties into your happiness level too, right? So the kindness and the connecting, they're just they're the perfect pair for each other.
They really
And I
are.
think even if you reflected and didn't do it, I'm going to say, I mean, I hope you do it, but even if you just pause, if that was your first step, at the end of the day, I'm just going to pause and reflect about who was a positive impact in my life or who made my day a little bit easier. If just that will elevate your mood, right? Change the way you're feeling. And then the next step, maybe, you could do the reach out, and the other, I'll just give you a couple of other things, other
Mm-hmm.
ideas is, if it was a service personnel or something, like you could reach out to their boss, right? So I recently went on the
That's
Delta app,
good.
and I
Yes.
did it. So it's not even specifically their boss, but it was the compliments and complaints. But I bet they get a whole bunch more complaints. But I had this amazing flight attendant, like she was just above and beyond. Oh, actually, I don't know. Do I have time to tell this story?
Well, I want you to, because you also did a little video on this that people can find on your website,
Yeah.
which is Steph on the Road, which I think is really fun. And you spoke to this flight attendant.
Yeah. So I was just new off this haircut, and I was alone in the row, and she came to me and she said, would you like a meal? And I was like, no, I'm okay. She says, well, like we have extra meals from first class. Like I'd be happy to bring you back a meal. And I thought, well, I'd kind of be stupid to say no, right? I'm like, okay, well, thanks a lot. That's really nice. Then as she walked away, I thought, oh, I wonder if she thinks I'm sick because of my hair. I wonder if she thinks like I'm in treatment maybe, and that's why she's doing this. And I thought, well, if she thinks that, I don't want to take the meal, like give it to somebody else. So she comes back, and I said to her, like, do you think I'm sick? Like, I'm not sick. It was just a fundraiser. And she's like, oh no. She says, I think you look amazing. She says, I just noticed that you have been so nice to other people around you. And I always try and notice, the passengers that are nice and try and offer them something a little extra. And she ends up sitting down, and we're chatting and we're crying and hugging. And it was just a whole thing. So when we were done, like luckily I remembered her first name, and I went onto Delta and typed where, the flight I was and who she was and how awesome she was. And I'm sure like I said, she should train every other flight attendant. She was so
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And she told me about she says, oh, people that fly, people think people are all mean and whatever. She says, but I just see so many beautiful, wonderful things happening. And she was just a shining star. So write to their boss, or call and just say, hey, I had coffee and I come every day and she's amazing every time. Or the LinkedIn reviews or Google reviews, or just something that people aren't expecting. You enjoy somebody's podcast, like just give them a go and just, hey, rate them on Apple. That means something to people in business. So, little things like that. They might not ever know who did it, but you got that little hit anyway.
Yeah.
So it feels
Well,
good.
it's just great to be able to show that. I mean, she's a prime example of that see nice, say nice, right? I mean, it's a beautiful story to show. Like that's how she sees the world, because
Yeah.
as we know, it can be pretty nasty on some of those flights. So to hear that from a flight attendant, I just love that story.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, once you start looking, it is amazing what comes out. I mean, it's the opposite too. We start looking for crappy beep, then we're finding a lot of crappy beep. We don't have to look far to find that either, right? But
Yeah.
which
I like
one
how you
which
do
one
your
serves
own
you better?
I like how you do your own beep. So any like, what are the key takeaways so we can wrap this with, for people who want to see nice, say nice? What are the key things that they should keep in mind and go and practice either today or the next day after listening to this?
Put something on your calendar, put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror, use a dry erase marker to write yourself a note to remind yourself. First, just notice, just reflect and notice on what's happened in your day, And if you can do it, if you have a little bit of energy left to take a tiny bit of action on that, you will never regret it. I never have sent one and go, geez, I wish I didn't do that. No, you will be happy you did. Reminder,
Awesome.
reflect, and then do.
Love it. Love it. And you're a perfect example of see nice, say nice stuff. Before we go, anything else you want to add?
Keep on living your life unlimited. Woo, it's way better that way.